Let's talk about one of the most advanced levels of thought within the mind, which is the superconscious. I am a student of Tim Zimmerman Sierra, who created the model of the mind. And the model of the mind is a basic explanation of the function of your conscious, your subconscious, your superconscious, and the critical factor. Your conscious is yourself, your ego, your personality. It's everything you think of when you think of you. Your favorite color, your favorite song, the feeling that gives you goosebumps, or can bring a tear to your eye. It's everything that you see is like reality. It's everything you feel that is real. It's your living self. It's your representative. And then you have the subconscious. The subconscious is like a creative computer. Programming in equals programming out. Negative programming equals negative results. Positive programming equals positive output. But here's the catch. Unlike a computer, it has imagination. And our subconscious is guarded by what we call the critical factor. And the critical factor is your gatekeeper. It's your monkey mind. It's your chatterbox in your head. It's what questions if something is legitimate. It's what makes you ask why. It's when you ask in your mind, should I listen? Am I listening? Is this important? Does this hold validity? Is this psychologically relevant? That is your critical factor. Your critical factor is the most it wants to understand why you're going to process something the way you're going to do, but it has bias. Okay, so let me give you an example of what that means. Your critical factor will let certain information in, and it will let certain information not into your subconscious. For example, let's say a homeless person says, hey, you need to work on your finance. Means nothing, right? The person doesn't have any money, and they're telling you about finance. What's the point of that? There is no point. It's collapsed. There's nothing there. Now let's say the professor of advanced economics at the University of wherever says, you need to work on your finances. That has gravity. That has weight. Our critical factor in our mind, that's receiving all the things you hear, is going to receive that information that you need to focus from that professional, because he is an authority figure. Our mind takes in several events that formulates what is considered real, such as being an authority figure. Sometimes repetition, hearing something over and over again. You are smart, you are not smart. You are dumb, you are genius. Doesn't matter. Peers, friends, situations, feelings, experiences. Anything can leave an impression on your subconscious. That's what hypnotherapy does, is we set aside the critical factor, or that part of you that questions everything, and we get right to the heart of the issue, which is how you feel about the situation we're talking about. Some people are full of confidence and just want to be reinforced and just feel stronger. Some people have emotions that have not been met. And when those emotions are met, it's emotional and we cry. But we remember that you are my people. We are all the same people. We are part of the same people. Because we feel and we cry. And when we cry is when we are reborn. And after that tear sheds, we get goosebumps. Like you see in my arms right now. It's the thought that creates a feeling. We recognize that before every rainbow, there's a storm. And that's the part of hypnosis that it's important to get consent from yourself, to ask yourself if you're ready and willing to go deep inside your mind and perhaps face things you have not faced before. And when you face that moment, it's emotional, but that's the moment of breakthrough. So we establish a breakthrough. And then we create positive ideas and beliefs to replace the negative ones we may hold. An example might be, we don't feel lovable. So if I was able to hypnotize you and get past your critical factor, what would I say? I would tell you that you're lovable. I would tell you that you study psychology to understand your mind, to get a better idea of who you are. I would say that I see you as healed. I see you strong. I see you successful. And I see you happy, content, and peaceful, knowing that you have achieved your goals. And we'd repeat that 3 or 4 times. And that's how we create a positive affirmation. And we do that on multiple layers. Thoughts are not a singular thing, it's layers. Ideas come in layers, like an onion, but with your mind. And each layer could be its own insecurity or trauma that we discover and resolve, and replace the trauma with a positive belief to collapse the trauma. That's the magic of what we do, is we take past trauma and we collapse the trauma itself. It's like, okay, well, what do you mean by that? Like, collapse the trauma. Like, that's pretty abstract, right? Like, you're collapsing an idea. You're telling me that I have a fear that you've just collapsed in your mind. So you're telling me, sir, that I have something I'm deeply insecure about, and you just collapsed the very thought itself, and now it's not there. Yes, let me explain. This is not my genius. This is the genius that I've worked with people far more intelligent than myself. But let me explain a basic idea of what that means. Let's say we are a young child and we're talking about something we're passionate about, and we're getting ready to speak up and tell everyone at the Thanksgiving table what we think about something we've been actually paying attention to. Maybe it was a science class experiment, because I'm 7 years old right now. And I'm getting ready to say what I feel. And as I'm getting ready to stand up, my grandfather says, children are to be heard, or to be seen. Children are to be seen and not heard. And that's it. It's done. You're shut down, child. Your opinion means nothing. You are just a kid, and you have no collective intelligence. Your opinion on the subject that you are so excited to talk about actually means nothing, because you've been reduced down to nothing. You've been told that you're not even worth a thought. You're just to be seen as an object. Possession. You're subconsciously told to be seen as a possession that is owned and controlled and free from independent thought or analysis. It's to strip away your creative intelligence. So what do we do with that? The grandfather that took away that child's expression is a narcissist. A clinical narcissist. A narcissist so bad that when the person drives, they put others in danger just to make a point. A narcissist that only says things like I, me, I. Everything they talk about goes back to them. It always goes back to them, no matter what the subject material is, no matter how interested they may seem to feel, it always comes back to them. We learn through intelligence that this person has extreme narcissism. We recognize that the narcissism is a psychological defect. It's a psychological defect. It's a handicap. It's an ailment. It's a sickness. Think about this for a minute. If you sign a contract to buy a car or a house, and you are not mentally well or fit, that contract is null and void because you are not capable of making a decision for a financial agreement. So the law recognizes that to make a financial agreement, you must be mentally sound. But our minds don't seem to have that distinction. We can take something that someone told us that is illegitimate and perceive it as legitimate. So what we do is we create the understanding that the authority figure, in this case, would be the grandfather. And the grandfather is a narcissist, and the grandfather can't see past his own ego. And no matter what the situation is, the grandfather must be the center of attention. The child was never put down. The child was just never there. The child perceived it as a hurt, but to the authority figure, there was never a child. It was only the authority figure. It was never someone put down. It was just preservation of their own. It was never someone put down. It was just preservation of their own. It's the collapse of the trauma. It's to realize that the grandfather was actually narcissistic and mentally ill, and that there was no capability of thinking on a deeper level, and that the child that was hurt was never even consciously aware in the grandfather's mind. It's to recognize that where you thought you were important, where you were being put down, you were never even there. When you were a child and you thought you were being put down and disqualified, in the narcissist mind, you were just noise of static, because the attention is supposed to be on them. That's the collapse of an identity, of a trauma. This is maybe like, for some people, like advanced level thinking, but it's creating mental framework in your mind. It's creating and dissolving authority figures into lesser authority figures. It's recognizing that the grandfather is not invisible, rather a lesser form of authenticity than we previously thought. I'm sorry, but that's really deep. But basically, we just take something that we perceived as so important as far as reverence of the opinion, and realize that the opinion never mattered because the person was sick and they were mentally ill. And their mental illness disqualifies them, just like it disqualifies them from signing a contract on a car or a house or a mortgage or any financial agreement. And we're going to hold ourselves with confidence and love and respect. And respect that if someone is not competent enough to sign a financial agreement, then they're not competent enough to tell us how we're going to feel. And we think about this in an advanced stage in life where we think about the event, but in modern context with modern thinking and mature mindset, but looking back and reflecting as if we're in the moment itself. That's how you collapse a trauma, is identify where the source of the insult basically came from. Find out why the source is disqualified or lessened, and then reinterpret what the output was and realize that it was never about you, and that your hurt feelings are actually something you created in your mind because it was something that was just between you. It was never designed to hurt. It was something you interpreted as hurt. It's an interpretation that didn't have validity. Therefore, since there's no validity, it is now disappeared. And now your trauma's gone. So the little kid that didn't feel like they could speak up now feels like they can and will. Because that grandfather wasn't putting them down. He just couldn't put anyone up except himself. You were never anything lesser. You just were not him. It's a narcissist. Narcissists always go first. They always take care of themselves. It's what they do. They are self-serving. It's the cycle of life. It's to understand psychology, is to understand narcissism, because we walk among them and it's life. And to be able to recognize it without being upset is emotional maturity. And be able to say, hey, I felt this way, but I no longer feel this way anymore because I recognize that the feeling itself was really never valid. It's emotional maturity. Let's get to the final concept, which is the superconscious of your mind. So we understand we can collapse trauma. And this is all done within your subconscious. So we got our conscious, which we don't mess with much with hypnotherapy. And then we got our superconscious, which holds all the programs like a computer, but with creative intelligence, backed up by feedback and experience. Now, keep in mind, your subconscious doesn't recognize the difference between imaginary versus what it has already experienced. So what it can visualize in its mind, it will not distinguish between what it has done in real life. So just know that what we're working with here. Now let's move to the really crazy part, which is the superconscious part of our mind. The superconscious is the soul. It's the soul of your collective intelligence. It is the soul combining with the universe of divine intelligence and everything that is blessed and holy and just amazing is channeling through your superconscious. Now, I am just a student, and I'm just an inquisitive mind. And I've been told that the superconscious cannot be cracked. I've been told the superconscious is something that is so strong. The beliefs are so strong, like your belief about God and your belief about love. I've been told that the beliefs are so deeply held that even if a nuclear bomb goes off, it will not be disrupted. But I have to question, because that's my nature, is to ask questions. And I think to myself, like, what about someone who experienced genocide? Someone who's seen the deepest levels of depravity of humanity, someone treating humans as if they're livestock, family, everyone murdered, taken. Your whole world being stripped, being the only survivor. Like someone escaping North Korea and knowing that all of their family got executed for punishment of their escape. Ponder that. You escaped North Korea. You thought you were doing something amazing, and you later find out that everyone in your family was killed because of what you did. You thought you were finding freedom, but all you did was eliminate your family. You created your own genocide. You now live with that. Some people could argue that something like that could crack the superconscious. Perhaps the superconscious is something that is unshakable, but perhaps it can be fractured. Perhaps a nuclear bomb can go off, and instead of falling apart, it fractures like fractured land to extract natural gas. Like hydraulic fractioning, destroying the ground with thermal explosions, fracturing the ground, dissolving its very core, just to extract natural gas. The hydraulic fracturing is like something traumatic happening in the superconscious. This is where I believe people can become lost. Is we lose sometimes our connection with God. And people say that your superconscious can't be messed with. But I have to internally digress. Because I think personally I can understand struggle and questioning of relationship with God. And I think sometimes it ebbs and flows. Because sometimes we have things happen in our life that makes us question existence. Or sometimes we maybe think we're maybe a little too high, a little too enlightened, getting too close. There's a philosophical argument that when you become too enlightened and you become too existential, God does not see you anymore. And when you're not seen, you're lost. It's like fading into nothing. And that is the struggle of the superconscious. Is the superconscious is what you're told is your belief about God, faith, humanity. But if you think deeply enough, and if you think from a wide enough range of lenses, and look maybe from perspective of someone like Palestinians or the Jews during the Holocaust or genocide in Africa or the Khmer Rouge, just thousands of people killed. It's those moments that fracture the superconscious. The moment where we realize thousands of people died because of one bad person. How can God let thousands of people die for one person? How can God let thousands of people die for one bad person? Those are the conflicts of humanity that I believe can fracture the superconscious. And when your superconscious gets fractured, it's systemic into your subconscious and to your conscious. So the real question is, how do we heal our superconscious? And the answer is, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just a student moving into a practicing professional, and I'm just someone thinking deeply within my own mind. These are just my thoughts. These are not yours. These are just for thought-provoking purposes. This is nothing more than a discussion about the conscious, the superconscious, the subconscious, and the critical factor, and things that can fracture the superconscious. So if you guys have any questions, or if this made sense, please let me know. But the whole point of this was to discuss the deeper level of the superconscious mind and how we collapse a trauma by seeing it as inferior and lesser. By seeing the trauma as something of lesser significance, we collapse the identity of the trauma itself to something that is just now an event. And we erase the past by collapsing something that was a pillar of negativity and dissolving it into the ground. Like water dissolving and just becoming nothing. Welcome.